name is Hayes Johnson. I am president of Swimmingly. I'm sure I've seen along, and a lot of people don't know what the heck's going on at a swim meet. And a lot of them would rather go to a soccer game that is an hour on a Saturday. So we want to make the experience so much fun. We want to involve everyone on the pool deck, including the parents. We really want to give them insight on what's going on the pool deck itself. So we'll get into the app. And tonight, again, the focus is on the meet management side of things. So I want to give you guys a quick reminder. Rocky Mountain, again, we met with you guys last year, and we have a membership model. And we met with you guys last year. A couple teams actually ran virtual swim meets. So we're actually working with hundreds of swim leagues across 43 states and 6 countries. And everyone is on this same membership pricing model. So you guys are very special in that you guys have not an 18 per swimmer. You guys are actually at 10, 12, and 14 for 3 years. So please remember that everyone else is at $18. You guys were in a very unique situation where some teams, we met with you guys, onboarded, and we're planning on introducing Swimmingly for the summer. And so we wanted to make it very easy for you guys to get back on board. And so that's why this 3-year introductory at 10, 12, 14 is in place for Rocky Mountain Swim League.
Well, I could come back like 5, 6 o'clock at night because we were having such a good time.
Sure. Yeah.
Is that, oh, there we go. Okay, we're good. And then second is Blueprint for Success. And we'll get to this once we get through the meet management side of Swimmingly and how to set up and get ready for the season. So every team that we onboard, we hope that they complete this Blueprint for Success. And what this Blueprint for Success means is roundtable, sample meet, time trial, first meet. So roundtable, and which we're actually going to walk through with you guys today, is a sample meet. Any of you guys can actually do exactly what we are going to do today with an iPad and a phone and an iPod or whatever. You just need 2 iPhones and an iPad.
We 63 people. This is an adult.
You can do exactly what I'm about to do tonight. So any team that does and completes the Blueprint for Success, I will be very honest with you guys, we do not hear from those teams. Very honestly. It's the teams that do not engage with the technology itself, and they show up at their first meet and they pull out the starter kit and they hope that the swim meet pops up and runs itself. Those are the teams that will field and help the first meet, and then after that, they're good to go. So Blueprint for Success is very important. Again, this is all on our training. You will. Sorry, I'm getting echo from. All right, I think we're good now. You guys will all get the training resources, and I know Kelly's shared those with you guys as well. And then the last thing, some reminders, like I mentioned earlier, in-person opportunities. Please reach out to us. Myself, Asia, and Dara are going to do our very best to get around to every pool deck before the season kicks off, so you guys feel comfortable and ready to launch into the season, and we're excited about it for sure. So today, I know Charlie's on. We can get through the clubhouse. Kelly mentioned that she wanted to walk through setting up a swim meet, but most importantly, it's the app and how to get this thing set up on the pool deck, which is the most fun part, which differentiates us from just about anything else. If you guys can imagine running a swim meet with an app, it's pretty crazy, but it is so much fun. Our retention rate since we started in 2013 has been about 96%. So once parents and teams get on and start running the app on the pool deck, they really do not want to go back to the old school paper system, stopwatch runners, all of that stuff. So I just wanted to share what we were going to walk through tonight. And Charlie, if you're on, I will defer it to you.
Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone.
There he is.
All right. So Hayes, I'm going to take them through the new parent activation. We got parent all over the place. We got people in the car. We got people with their video off. It's good to see everyone. So a quick update on the clubhouse side of things. If we haven't already spoken with you in the last couple of days, we have a big push on some new exciting things, and it's really culminating in the parent activation. And what that is everything that you guys have already seen, probably watched the video. And there's a couple of things there. The first one, if you haven't seen that video, we can follow up and send it to you. But it's also on our training page now if you want to go to that. If you go to the Clubhouse section, there's a parent activation and swimmer sign-up code video that's there. And that's going to show you exactly what you guys are going to be able to do starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So if you're one of those folks that said it's May 10th and we're ready to go, it is going to be live tomorrow morning. And so we're excited to do that. But the video basically encapsulates the parent activation portion of it. So the second portion is, of course, the payment. There's a few outstanding teams, which is totally understandable, that we haven't heard from regarding the payment method. But by and large, for a league of this size, we've heard back from almost every team, which is amazing. And we've set up the database accordingly. So we know if you're going to pay by parent or by club, and any details there are already covered. So when you see that live tomorrow, you'll be ready to rock and roll, follow that video, follow those steps. So that's the reason that we put the Clubhouse on pause. We wanted to make sure that it was ready to go for everyone. The other update over on the training page while we're there is the help guide for the season is ready for download. And then you can see that the new versions of the app are going to be live shortly, so this week. So we're really excited on all of that stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's getting pushed this week. This is the big week when we don't have too many year-round meets going on, and we get to turn all of our attention to summer swimming. The last thing I'll say about parent activation and payment is the platform, as far as the processing, the payment part and the activation, is new this year, as you guys can probably tell. So we're really excited for this push. So if you have any questions there, just call us. That team hotline is on anything. We'll be, I'm sure, fielding a lot of questions and walking people through this over the next few days. So feel free to just ping us. If we don't pick up, we'll call you back, shoot us an email. But we're going to make sure that no parent is left behind. We'll even make sure the stragglers get with the program by the beginning of June. So I know there'll be a few parents there, and we'll be happy to assist with anything as far as getting those last swimmers in. So we understand this is a new process for you guys. It's a new platform as far as the activation. And so again, check your box, check your calendar for tomorrow morning. So we will be live at that time and ready to go for you. And if you're wondering why Hayes looks so still, maybe he froze. I can't tell. Hayes, you're on mute. Yeah, we can't hear you. If you can hear us, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There you are.
Good. I was just testing you guys, seeing if you were listening. All right, so let's get into it. So every team should have, fingers crossed, received a starter kit. If you have not, please let us know. I have an extra one sitting at my house ready to deliver, okay? So in the starter kit, you guys will receive a couple things that will be very crucial for your swim meet. So first and foremost is the router, and I'm actually going to do this real time with you guys tonight. I'm actually plugging this thing in, going to run the meet all on this router. So this router itself, this is pre-configured, ready for you guys to rock and roll for your swim meets. You will get antennas. We'll have instructions in there. You just screw them on, 5 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz band. It's kind of like mix and match. You're good. It's very easy. And you plug it in, and it will literally be ready to use as a internet connection on your devices. So once you plug that in, our recommendation is hang it on the backstroke flag. Okay. That is the best, most optimal place, typically where the starter is, typically where the ref is, where the timers are close to at the beginning of the meet. Plug this in, hang it up on the backstroke flags. We have an awesome strap here for you. You just wrap it around, clip it in, and it just hangs up and it's ready to go. It is water resistant, so don't worry about splashes. Don't worry about rain. You guys are good there. So that is the most important piece in the starter kit. Next are the lanyards. You guys should all receive lanyards, and these are there to wrap around your devices and hang around your neck, acting like a stopwatch. Okay. So they're pretty nice, very cool, universal, should wrap around just about any phone out there. Also a good piece to identify who a timer is. And I always say this, and I always like to knock on wood. In 8 years, we have yet to have any volunteer on any team that we have ever onboarded drop a phone in the pool or even get close to it. So there we go. And then another question we get, well, the third thing that comes in is a battery pack for you guys. You guys should all get a battery pack. We started offering battery packs about 4-5 years ago. The majority of our meets come on Tuesday nights. We have about 120 meets on a Tuesday night on average, and those are at 6 p.m. And so you have some parents coming from work that might be at 50%. So we just like to provide a battery pack there to say, hey, if someone comes in from work and is a little low on battery, here's a battery pack to get them back up to charge. Typically on morning meets, you will never have an issue. It's the late night meets that run till 10 p.m. and you might have one person that starts at 50% and will get down to like 10%. So we just like to provide that. Everyone's got portable battery packs. You know, you can offer some out to the teams itself, but that's why we offer that. And then training, obviously we're here for all of these trainings. We have the schedule for all the trainings. We've got the in-person training on May 22nd that we would like to be at as well. So please bring questions. We'll be there to support you guys on that training. So let us know. So that is the starter kit. The starter kit will give you everything you need to actually set up and get the meet running. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And like I said, I'm doing this real time. Can you guys all see these devices? I'm hoping. Charlie, can you nod your head? I see you. Okay, cool. All right, so we are going to start with a couple devices. We're going to start on the left with a starter. The next device is going to be a timer. And then the scorekeeper, which is the hub really of what we're going to walk through, the huddle device, the one who kind of leads the charge, the swimmingly rep that wants to really take this, train the train. Like we're all about training the trainer. So if you guys are there and you guys are going to be the ones that are going to run the timer huddle, this is the device that you guys should really handle. And that's the scorekeeper. And that is an iPad. All right. The timers will be Android as well. Starter and stroke and turn judge are iOS. So back in 2013, we built the platform on iOS. Of course, we got feedback on building Android. And the first thing we did a few years ago is build Android for timers because that is the most used volunteer role on the pool deck. So hopefully, yes, in the future, we want to accommodate every role for Android. Right now, it is just for the timer role, so you guys do know that. And so what I'm going to do is walk you guys through a sample meet. And like I said, we have the Blueprint for Success on the training page, and the sample meet is there. So I'm basically going to walk you guys through this. It's going to be like setting up an actual meet. It's very similar, but this will just give you guys the opportunity to do it with a few devices. So when you guys are setting up a meet, first and foremost, plug in the router, hang it up on the backstroke flags, give it 90 seconds to boot up. You guys are good to go. Second, you guys will always have this timer meeting, timer huddle, timer meeting, whatever you guys want to call it. When you bring all of the timers over, most of the time, all of our teams have been very good about communicating, download the app before you come to the pool deck, all of that good stuff. If not, luckily, it only takes about 30 seconds to download the app and get a new volunteer up and running, so no worries there. Once they download the app, the first thing they will have to do is just connect to the Swimmingly Wi-Fi. All right, so all of you guys will have Swimmingly 2.4 and Swimmingly 5. We have two bands, a 5.0 and a 2.4 gigahertz band. It does not matter which one you join. As long as you are on one of those for the meet, you are good to go. So I have joined Swimmingly 2.4. The password, very hard to crack, is Swimmingly, all lowercase for everybody. Everyone's router, the password is Swimmingly, all lowercase. So once the volunteers are on that Wi-Fi, they just have to go back to the app and they are good to go. That's all they have to do before the timer huddle. And I really wanted to stress on this huddle tonight because this is the only time that we get calls from. Once the meet is going, we very rarely hear from teams. The huddle is really what we like to focus on to make sure that you guys can communicate to the volunteers and make sure they're comfortable getting ready to huddle. So I'm going to go ahead and select the scorekeeper on the iPad. On the left, you will have club ID and starter key, which you guys will typically use. And every team, I know some teams that ran meets last year will understand this. For new teams that are using it this year, every team will have a club ID and a starter key unique to your club. All that's going to do is pull down your meet schedule information, all of the meets that you have set up prior to the season starting. So for today, we're just going to log in as guest. And like I said, you guys can all do this. And typically when you type in your club ID and starter key, all of your meets are going to populate on this page. So every single meet. So typically you'll see 4, 5, 6 swim meets today. Like I said, we're just going to run the sample meet. The next screen, once you select the meet that you are going to run for that day, it's just going to say time to huddle. We do provide directions for you guys. Airplane mode is fine. You don't have to be in airplane mode, but it's just a good recommendation. So a couple things there. And then once you get on the pool deck, you are able to slide your finger really to select how many lanes you guys are running for that swim meet. We go all the way up to 10. I don't know if you guys have 10 lanes in the league, but I do know we have 8 lane pools in the league. For today, with the whopping amount of devices that I have, I'm going to go ahead and just do 2 lanes. And I think most of the pools are short course yards. We have short course meters and long course meters, which we won't have to deal with in Rocky Mountain Swim League. We do have some leagues that run long course meters, but for today, we'll just start off with short course yards. And then once you have set your lanes and your course, you just hit join the swim meet. And once you have gotten to this page, this is when you typically huddle all of the timers together. All right, you say, timers, come on over. We're going to get ready for the swim meet, assign lanes, all of that good stuff. A couple things on this screen you'll see at the top is a meet ID. Every single swim meet that you guys run is going to have a unique meet ID. And we like to do this to protect the integrity of the swim meet. We don't want random volunteers or parents hopping on to try and time. This is another sense of security for your volunteers, not only the Wi-Fi connection, but the meet ID itself. And so once you get to this screen, best practice, these are just best practices. I'm going to say, hey, starter, come on over, and we're going to huddle you in first. So I have already taken the liberty to hop on the Wi-Fi network. And if you guys can see at the bottom here on the starter, you'll see the Wi-Fi network that you are connected to. So just a good little visual there. So I'm going to say, all right, ready to huddle. And the scorekeeper is going to say, all right, starter, the meet ID is 8013. And I'll enter that in, and ding, ding, you got green lights for the starter. He is huddled. All right. Next thing is say, all right, timers, meet ID for today is 8013. So once you give that out to all the timers, and I'm huddling a couple other devices as well, just to bring them in later on, maybe a stroke and turn judge. So once you have those devices huddled, you will see them come in live on the scorekeeper's device. And you'll be noted when, typically you can count all the timers and say, all right, we're good to go. We're good to start the meet. So the next thing is start the meet. The last page before you get to the actual meet itself is just setting up the scoring for the meet. And Kelly, I do not know the scoring of RMSL or what I would have set it up. But You can pretty much change anything and everything on this screen. Yep. And so you can add places. If you guys have 5 places that you score, you can add that many in, and you can change the point differential there, and you can take them away as well. Same for relays on the right side. All right, so I'm just going to pretend that the scoring is totally correct, and we're going to get started. So I've set it up, so we're going to start the meet. Obviously, on the scorekeeper's device, you will see nothing because we have not started an event. So for the time being, I'm going to just hide this screen. Actually, I'll leave it up. I'll just shrink it a little bit. And I'm going to blow up a timer and the starter. All right, so a couple things for you guys. The meet is really ready to run at this point. One thing I do want to note, at the top of the starter's device, you will have a blue bar. And this is the event order. So this is going to be Rocky Mountain Swim League's event order. So again, this is just the sample meet. If you guys do this at home and you do this with your teams and run a sample meet, this is actually paying some homage to Charlie's summer league that he grew up in. They did run 15-yard races, which is the craziest thing ever. They literally threw a rope across the pool and ran 15-yard races. But we wanted to have a little bit of Charlie's summer league in there. So when you guys run this, just pretend it's like any other event.
It was very official. It was very official.
Yeah. So this is sample meet. Like I said, it's going to have your 80 events or however many you guys have typically. The one thing that we will always have in any event order is a test individual event and a test relay event. So this is basically like any other timer huddle. When you bring the timers over and you say, all right, timers, we're just going to run a couple races here to make sure that you know how to work a stopwatch and you know how to stop a stopwatch. It's the same thing here. So what we're going to do is just run it like we're in a timer huddle still. And I'm going to go ahead and start a race, and I'll make sure the volume's up so you guys can hear this. As you can see on the left, the starter, you tap anywhere to start the race. You can also integrate with the Infinity starter system. You can also plug it into a PA system, which most of our teams do across the country, and you'll see why. So we have programmed the sound in. So when you are ready to start that race, swimmers, take your mark. We have programmed that sound from the Infinity starter into our app. So literally it projects out and it's very loud, as you guys know. As you guys can see here, these timers watches start automatically. I will repeat, you get a synchronized start for all timers. No more wait, I'm not ready. That is all gone. All right. So I'm going to just go ahead and walk you through a couple things that you would tell a timer in a timer huddle. All right. How do you stop a race? All you have to do is tap the screen. So once you tap the screen, very common question. The first question we always get, what if you accidentally tap the screen? There is a back button in the top left. This will take you back to the running clock. Okay. So in case someone accidentally taps the screen, it's okay, no worries. So once the swimmer's hand touched the wall, you tap the screen. And this really is the best place to assign lanes in your timer huddle, obviously. One time and one time only on this middle device here, you will see tap to select lane. For today, I'm going to be lane 1. So once I hit done, it will recognize me as lane 1, and I will not have to do that again the entire swim meet. The best thing about our system, what makes us very unique, is a swimmer ID. So every swimmer, when they're registered into Swimmingly, they're assigned a 3-digit ID. The swimmers love this. It's basically a jersey number for them now. So once they are assigned a 3-digit ID, this is basically their jersey number. It won't leave them until they retire from the sport. If they switch teams, you know, if someone goes from Heritage Greens to CCV or whatever it is, they would have to switch there. but it will stay with them for every single swim meet for every season that they are on that swim team. So for today, I will just enter 001. I'll do Janie for today, and I'll hit save and continue. So a lot just happened there. When the swimmers are swimming, typically all the teams will ask the parents, ask the swimmers to write that 3-digit ID on their arm or their back shoulder. All right. The kids, you'll see it. I promise you, you'll see it by the second or third meet. They'll start writing it really cool in big numbers and decorations and all that stuff. So once they touch the wall, all the timer had to do was tap the screen, enter the 3-digit ID, hit save and continue, and those results are sent automatically to the scorekeeper. And I'll keep walking through a couple more races, but I just want to highlight there that runners are eliminated. You don't need to pass off paper to anybody. There's no manual data entry. All of that is gone. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump to an actual event so you guys can see that. So on the starter on the far left here, I will tap that blue bar and I'm going to go to event 1. It'll just ask start selected event. It won't start it, it'll just reset it. So I'm just going to keep running through this. Swimmers, take your mark.
It was just her one-on-one against the goalie. She didn't try to make it.
All right. So again, as you can see, the time has started for all the timers, and I just lost the device. Sorry, I'm doing this real time.
Just try to shoot it as hard as you could, like.
I'll pull it back up here for you. There we go. All right, still running over here. So it's just over here on the right, a little delayed. So when I tap the screen to stop the race, you'll get there in 37 seconds. I've got a little delay, I apologize. So you'll see here that it does recognize that lane. All right, so again, all you will have to do is tap the box, enter 003. I'm just making up numbers for today. I'll select the swimmer. I'll use a boy. Let me get to a boy. Marcus, there we go. So typically the timer will type in 040 and they'll say, hey, good job, Marcus. You went 37.4 in your 15-yard freestyle. I don't know if that's fast or slow, but save and continue. And as you can see on the scorekeeper, again, it sends directly to the scorekeeper's device. So a couple things I will walk you through again. My starter is a little delayed, so I apologize. So one thing I do want to walk you guys through that saves teams anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes per swim meet. And this is dual meets, 90 minutes, obviously, when they have larger swim teams, 30 minutes when they have smaller swim teams. This is what we call the quick start feature. So the quick start feature is basically a flyover feature. All right. So the swim meet will run as fast as the starter is really going to run this swim meet. And so I'm going to go ahead and start a race. Swimmers, take your mark. And I'll let it run for a second. So when the last swimmer in the heat touches the wall, the starter can really get going on to that next heat. The important thing to remember here is that the timers really just have to focus on getting that correct ID into the device. So as a timer, I'm going to go ahead and stop the watch. And I'm going to wait. I'm going to pretend like it's taking forever for the swimmer to get out of the water. As the starter, everyone's done. I'm going to go ahead and start the next heat. Swimmers, take your mark. No problem. All right. So if you guys can pan over to the timer here, I'm going to go ahead and enter an ID in. William Bowen. Nice job, William. You went 23.5. Save and continue. And the time is automatically caught up to the next heat. Okay. So what we have done there is essentially eliminated 20 to 30 seconds of dead time between each and every heat and event. So if you can imagine, that adds up very quickly, especially when you have 75 events, 80 events, it will add up quickly to about an hour. So a lot of our teams that have been using it for a year, multiple years, they're literally saving 60 minutes a swim meet. Okay. And that's just one of the great things. Obviously, the manual data entry, you guys don't have to worry about. So, and the timer, I'm just going to go ahead and stop another race for you guys, and I'll enter another ID. It's not a boy, but I'll show you guys this. All right, so I'm going to move on to a couple other features on the starter device over here. A couple other features. What happens if you have a false start? All right, let's walk through that real quick. Swimmers, take your mark. All right, on the starter device, there's a button in the bottom left. You guys probably are familiar with that sound. So that button in the bottom left will actually false start the heat, project through that PA system like I mentioned, and that is obviously very vocal to all the swimmers in the pool and the volunteers, and then you are able to recall the heat. So when I recall the heat, and I'll do it without false starting this time, and I'll show you how you can do that as well. So if you start one and it's not a false start and you just want to recall the heat, you guys will see on the timer devices as well. There's a recall button here, and that will just reset all of the timer's devices without that loud, obnoxious false start tone. So however you guys choose to do the false start method, that's up to you, but that feature is there as well. Another big one we get on the starter and the timer, how do you combine events? Heats, you can literally combine on the fly because the swimmer ID, the timer is always going to know who the swimmer is that's touching the wall. So if you guys decide to combine heats 1 and 2, it's going to know that those swimmers, based on their ID, 0111 Kelly Smith, for example, it's going to know that she swam in that event, in that heat, without combining events on the app. Okay, so combining heats, you don't have to do anything, business as usual. Combining events, there is a feature on the starter device. So typically on the heat sheets, you guys are very unique in that you have these scratch meetings in the mornings. So new to us, and I know it's a lot of work, and I know it's a lot of stuff you guys have to structure in place to get everything set up. So if you guys do combine events and you guys do have your master heat sheets, for example, you guys can just combine them and bracket them on the heat sheet. You don't have to do this for every heat sheet. You just have to do it for the starter, the key volunteers. You don't have to do it for everybody. But once you go through the heat sheet, you can literally take a permanent marker and bracket them and make sure the starter knows, most importantly, where to combine the events. So let's just say the starter has a heat sheet and he knows to combine events 3 and 4. Okay. When I hit that event bar, you have combine events in the top right, and I'm going to go ahead and hit that. It's just going to say, are you sure you want to combine events? I'm going to say yes. So now I'm able to combine events 3 and 4. So boys, 25 breaststroke, girls, 25 butterfly. Typically it's the older kids. Typically it's a boy and girl event. You guys get the picture. So I'll go ahead and start all selected events. It will change to multiple events and multiple heats. Swimmers, take your mark. A couple things you'll notice on the scorekeeper, it's going to start both of those events for you. So the scorekeeper knows that those events are in the water, which is nice. And then additionally, on the timer's device, you will see that events 3 and 4, heat 1, lane 1, which is your lane, that's always going to be there for the timer. So the only additional step that the timer will have, as you guys will see when I touch the screen, it's just going to ask which event you're timing. Typically very simple. Typically it's a boy or a girl. Typically, pretty much self-explanatory at that point. But if there are a 7'8" boy and a 9-10 boy, it's as easy as asking the kid how old they are. We typically don't see that as much, but that's just something that you guys can convey to the timers themselves. So the extra step is selecting event 3, and I will go ahead and enter in Irwin, save and continue, and it'll put him in event 3, 7-8 boys breaststroke. Okay, so very easy for the timers, very easy for the starter. And that's pretty much combining events. Once you guys need to go back, because typically you'll combine events and you'll need to go back to a single event, very simple. You tap the blue bar again. In the top right, you'll hit single event. Are you sure you want to go back? Yes. And we are going to go back to event 2. So another great thing, you guys can jump non-linearly through the event order. You don't have to go straight through. If a kid misses their race, for example, you can actually go back to an event and select that race or combine it with another event. So I don't know if you guys are typically allowing kids to come up and swim again if they missed the event, but if so, you can always go back to events, and that's what I wanted to show you there. So I will go ahead and start one more race. Before I do that, another question is, can you enter IDs? This is a common question that we get. Can you enter IDs before the race actually kicks off? Absolutely. So say for a 50 free or a 100 free or a 200 IM, whatever the event is, you have the kid standing right in front of you. You can actually get that ID in right away. And how you do that, if you look over at the timer device here, there is a swimmer icon. That swimmer icon will allow you to enter the ID before the race kicks off. So I'll go ahead and do Teresa. And once I have Teresa in, I'm just going to hit done. And you guys will see when I start the race, it will show you event 2 has kicked off where we skipped an event. And then once I get past 10 seconds, I will stop the race. And you guys will see that Teresa is already there. All right, so you can do IDs before, during, and after the races. So just something, common question that we get. And once you save and continue, the result is shuffled to that correct event. All right, Charlie, am I missing anything on the starter, timer, etc.?
I would say that was thorough, and you did an excellent job. Not only informative, but entertaining. Everyone give Hayes a round of applause.
Oh, goodness. We all need a glass of wine or something. I don't know.
I've seen some on here. I'm looking at people. I'm monitoring.
All right. So one thing I want to get to is the scorekeeper. Again, this is typically your computers, your multiple computers, one computer, however many volunteers that you typically have at the scorers table. It is now condensed down to one iPad. You can walk around and enjoy the swim meet, and you don't have to enter data all day long, which is so very nice. So I will blow this up so you guys can see the scorekeeper, and I'll walk you through some awesome features here. So I did not have a lane 2, so I apologize. But one thing I will show you today, really the main functionality of the scorekeeper. So since you're not manually entering data all day long during the swim meet, all you're really having to do is validate the results coming into the scorekeeper's iPad. So best case scenario, you'll see these times come in without this daunting yellow exclamation point. All right. You will not see these very often, I promise you. When you do see them, it will indicate a couple things. It will indicate wrong gender. Charlie, help me out. Wrong ID.
Yeah, the main one is usually when if you are running 2 timers in a lane and
they're one timer.
They're doing, that's even better. So if a time comes in and it's under 10 seconds, this is one thing that we've learned, that oftentimes we've found that a timer accidentally submitted an erroneous time with an unknown swimmer because they meant that the lane was empty. Now there is a way to submit an empty lane, and we can go through that, but it was a timer accidentally doing that. So what we've told the system is until Caleb Dressel comes back to swim 25s, we're just going to flag any sub 10 second as lane possibly empty, and it will tell you that here on the scorekeeper, and you can just delete it.
Yep. And I'll go back to show you guys what to do if you have an empty lane. Very simple. The answer is you do nothing. So we'll go back and I'll show you that feature as well. Thanks for bringing that up, Charlie. So when you guys do have a yellow exclamation point come in, so typically for you guys with one timer per lane, it will be wrong gender. It'll typically be a possible fat finger ID number, things like that. The biggest thing to note is just remind the timers, because one, you're eliminating the start. They do not have to worry about starting their device. And two, if the starter starts the next race, do not freak out. Take the time to get the ID in, and all things are good in the swimming world. Okay. So as the scorekeeper, I'm going to go ahead and tap. I'm literally just tapping on this yellow exclamation point. And I did this on purpose so we could show you this. Swimmer is wrong gender for event. All right, great. So as the scorekeeper, I typically have a heat sheet next to me. So if you guys were typically off with your computers in a room or super far off the pool deck, that can change now. You guys can actually move up to, a lot of our teams move their scorekeeper up to right behind the starter, for instance, and just pop a 10 up, which is nice. So when you guys do get this, you'll look at the heat sheet typically, and it's usually a very simple fix. So you'll be able to see the timers, and I'm just going to hold this so you guys can see. You'll be able to see whose phone is actually timing in that lane. So you can actually walk over with the iPad and say, hey, Kelly, did you screw that event up? What did you do? So things like that. Or you can just look at the heat sheet and say, okay, let's look at what Hayes put in. All right, that should have been 008, and I'm hoping that that's a boy. Erwin, yes, it is. Sweet. So instead of 006, he just fat fingered it. And I look at the heat sheet and it should have been 008. That's a very easy fix. And I'm going to hit save and continue. And that yellow exclamation point goes away. So again, instead of entering data in all day long, all you have to do is validate those results. Typically, you will not see a lot of yellow exclamation points. We do realize that a lot of these timers are new to the swimming world. It's okay. This is new. This is fun. This is new technology. Takes 1 or 2 heats to get used to it. That's why we offer that test individual event. Once they do that, I promise they're good to go. So a couple other things here on the scorekeeper. In the top left, you'll have an actions menu. You'll have a silhouette icon, which will always tell you the meet ID. It will always tell you who is timing. So it'll say Hayes' phone, Charlie's phone, Asia's iPhone, Kelly's iPhone, all of that good stuff. And then the badge, of course, the big bad wolf of the group, the stroke and turn judge, we'll have one of those in there. And then the starter with the blowhorn. So you'll be able to see whose phone is connected to each of those roles. So for today, I'm just going to go through the actions menu. Common question we always get is, can you print ribbon labels? Absolutely. We like to say we want all the work done before or right after the last kid touches the wall. All right. So we don't want you guys sticking around the pool deck hours after the swim meet. We hope that you guys can get ribbon labels done and results printed out as the meet is finishing up as well. So great thing to note. Every parent with the membership, the $10 membership for this year, is going to get Swimmingly Fan. Swimmingly Fan is answering all of the questions for the parents, the questions that we always get, and that's why we created Swimmingly Fan. When is my child swimming? How did my child do? What's the score of the meet? And when can I get the heck out of here? All right. So because we're controlling the data with Swimmingly on the pool deck, we're taking that data at the point of origin. We are able to project the results, all of that good stuff to the parents. Most importantly, we're able to tell them when their kid is going to swim. And that's probably our most favorited feature by the parents. All parents will get a push notification 3 events before their kid swims. So if you guys have restrictions on the pool deck, you can't have more than 200 bodies. I'm totally making numbers up. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. If you can't have more than 200 bodies on the pool deck and some parents have to wait out in their cars, ding, ding, Johnny's up in 3 events. Now you can go down and watch. As simple as that. For live results, they're always going to be unofficial. We like to keep them unofficial because once they are official, that plants something in the brain of parents and makes it a little more serious than it should. So all results on Swimmingly Fan will be listed and in parentheses as unofficial. All right. So again, the Swimmingly Fan app is there for all the parents. They're going to get heat sheets before the meet starts, virtual heat sheets in their pockets. So they'll know all the entries. They'll know what events their kids swimming. As the meet's going on, they'll have a live event tracker, what event is actually in the water, what percentage of the way they're through the meet. So it could say 70% of the way through the meet, which is nice for them. Scores of the meet, which is also cool. And then results for their swimmers and results for all the events, and time improvements will highlight in green for your swimmers as well. So that's something that is awesome that comes with the membership for all the parent and that constituent group. So if you want to go old school, traditional way, you can print results here. We don't have many results, so I apologize, but you guys will see very quickly. When you generate all results, you can go ahead and slap these on the walls like you typically have done in the past. If that's what you've done, no problem there. In the top right, it's all of the iOS functionality. So if you tap this, you can airdrop, you can email, you can do whatever you need to do with this file. If you want to save results, totally cool there as well. Ribbon labels, same thing. You guys can do, so, you know, we walked through this at CCV the other day. When the meets are going, when they're going on, 10 events typically is when most of our teams will print ribbon labels. So every 10 events, the teams will go ahead and print ribbon labels and they'll toss them off to the other volunteer to put them on the ribbons. So that way, by the time the meet is over, all the work is done. You can literally have your ribbons done and all the results printed by the time the meet is over. And so you can print some ribbon labels and you can choose, it's very dynamic. You guys can choose which club you're printing for, how many events you're printing for, what places you want to print for. Again, we accommodate hundreds of leagues, so very different across the board, but we want to make sure that we accommodate for everybody. So for today, we'll just do generate all, and it's the typical Avery label. 3x10 all the way down, 5160. I think that's what it is. Avery 5160. Hopefully that's right. Same thing here. You can airdrop, email. A lot of teams like to do a wine night and do ribbon labels the night after. You know, we hear just about everything. So you have everything in place to print results and ribbon labels. If there is, and I'll go back to the pool deck here. Scorekeeper is very simple, explanatory. Another question that comes in, there are some teams that will start with a backup manual watch and they'll probably get rid of it after the first swim meet, to be honest with you, because they'll realize that they don't need it. So I'll talk about head timers, for instance. So a head timer can be used on a device and it can be sat next to the starter or the scorekeeper. It can just be a device that's hooked up and just running as the meet is going on. And I will show you, hopefully there's not much lag after I've letting them been sitting here. All right, cool. So I started a race, as you can see on the starter and the timer here. I'm gonna pretend this is a head timer and you guys just have an extra device just in case someone wanders off to the restroom or something. It's happened before, I promise. As the starter, I'm gonna go ahead and reset for the next heat. And this also answers the question, what if I don't have a swimmer in my lane? The answer is you do absolutely nothing, which is great. So once the starter starts the race for the next heat, there's a little delay, I apologize. It'll catch up in just a second. There you go. It'll just restart to where that starter starts it. So you don't have to worry about doing anything. You just let the starter get going. You don't have to do anything if no one's in your lane. And if it's a head timer, you can sub in and substitute for a timer and select which lane you're timing. Additionally, if you have a manual stopwatch as a head timer, and you need that time, for example, you can add manual times in on the scorekeeper. So I'll just show you one real quick. So I'm going to do event 1. I'll do heat 3, lane 2. Sorry. And as you guys can see, that manual time has been added right here where that yellow exclamation point is. All right. And I just did the wrong gender, so you guys can see another exclamation point there. And as you guys are going through the events, the last thing really before I get into publishing, a good indicator to when you have 80 events, you're going to scroll for quite some time. I don't know how many you guys have, but we have leagues that go all the way up to 140. So when you scroll a lot, you just want to have a little visual point of what's official and unofficial. So when you select official, it'll just show you that those have been checked off. You have validated those exclamation points, and you can move on to the next events. So you know which events you have validated. Pretty simple there. So once the meet's over, the scorekeeper really has one thing left to do, and that is publishing results. So once you have validated all of the results, all you will have to do in the actions menu is publish to Clubhouse. All right. So when you are on the Swimmingly Wi-Fi, the Swimmingly Wi-Fi that we provide is a local area network. What that means is that it is not internet connection. All right. It is specifically there to connect to the devices on the pool deck. All right. So you can't hop on Swimmingly Wi-Fi and surf the web. That just will not happen. So the one thing you will have to do once the meet has been validated, all the results have been completed, you'll just have to either hop on a Wi-Fi connection or a personal hotspot. Once you do that, you will be able to publish results, and I'll show you how they will look. Once you publish, they'll have a check mark. They'll kind of all disappear as you publish them. If you try to publish them on the Swimmingly Wi-Fi, it's just going to be a big yellow or triangle exclamation point that just says it was not able to publish. So it's as simple as switching your Wi-Fi, and you can literally hop out, go to settings, switch your Wi-Fi network, go back to the app, and publish. And once you have published, the meet is done. You really do not have to do anything. All those results will be published to the Clubhouse, so parents will be able to track along in the Clubhouse as well. You'll have all of those meets. If you want to export results into another system, Sumtopia, whatever you might use, you can totally do that as well. We have a database, just however you guys like to use that functionality, it's all there as well. And that is an hour on the dot for the meet management stuff. So I want to respect everyone's time, but again, we are here to answer as many questions as possible and also make sure that we can get to see you guys in person and help you guys before the season kicks off, so you guys feel comfortable and ready to go. I promise you, once you run through that blueprint of success, blueprint for success, it is very simple. Our teams do not want to go back to the paper system. It shows, and they really do love it. The volunteers have a great time doing it. And we're here to help. If you guys have any questions, we want to make sure that your features are heard by us. We do a great feature request at the end of each summer, and all of our teams will spit in all of their feature requests, and based on what we hear, we'll stack rank them, and we'll get the ones that are highly requested, obviously. But we like to hear from you guys. Our plan really is to get to, the big question is what has to be true for us to have a one-stop shop for all summer swim teams. That is what we get every single year. And we are doing all of this to make it simple for any new volunteer to learn. We want to build registration, team communication, volunteer sign up. All of those good things are coming. But we want to make it true so that every summer swim team has a one-stop shop and that the parents are enjoying it. We want to educate the parents and we want to increase participation in the sport. We were all swimmers. We love swimming. We have built this because we love swimming. And we're happy to be working with you guys. I know it was a tough year last year, and we want to do everything we can to help you guys reboot your swim teams and seasons this year. So with all of that being said, a lot of information in a little bit of time. We'll get to everybody this summer, I promise. Let's get to some questions. And I know you guys have other training scheduled, and we plan to be at those. So just let us know.
I'm gonna grease the wheels with the Q&A here because I was tracking along with Jason also in moderating the chat. I think we actually almost hit on everything. So I want to call out one. I'll let Hayes describe it. That is first half, second half timers. And in teeing that up, I just want to point out sort of the why behind what's going on here. So you guys, there was a couple of questions about the meet managers and seeing the clubhouse and, okay, how are we loading these meets? I think Kate mentioned, we know there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to get to this point. And she's exactly right, of course. The reason that we wanted to start with the app itself is specifically because it is not behind the scenes. One thing that we really believe in at Swimmingly, and believe me, we have that whole thing, it's going to be on demand for the clubhouse. It's too much to go through both of them in a single night. So I believe Jason already said in there, we're going to have on-demand training. You can pick and choose. I'm a timer, I'm a judge, I'm a starter, I'm a scorekeeper, I'm a club administrator. So you can do those things specifically, and we'll have those announced for later in May. But the important thing here is we wanted to really start with this because this is what's different. We want to acknowledge this and call this out up front. This is the part that causes things to happen differently on the pool deck. And like we've always said for the last 8 years, if you engage with the technology, it'll engage with you. And so this is the best place to start. As Kate pointed out again, you're wondering, well, how did we get here? What had to be loaded in the system beforehand? Again, if you want to mark your calendars, we're going to have those announced for on-demand clubhouse training and these trainings in May. So we'll definitely go through that. So I just wanted to call that out. But I think aside from that, the only one that I didn't quite get to, and I'll let Hayes take it, is the timer shifts.
Perfect. Yes. Very common. So first half, second half timers, very, very simple. When you do that shift, all you guys have to do, and typically the starter takes this role and they just over the microphone, they say, all right, first half timers, great job. You guys are dismissed. All right. So what we recommend is saying, all right, the starter will do this over the mic. Hey, first half timers, please come over here. And we're going to swap out with the second half timers. So really, all you're really doing there is just saying, timer, you are good to go. All you need to do is, as you can see on my screen, swipe up and delete like you would delete any app. And that timer is off, okay? That timer has deleted. They are no longer timing for Swimmingly, and they can be freed from the volunteer role, okay? So I'll bring in a stroke and turn judge, and we can harp on that for a second. So I will go to Swimmingly. And so I'm pretending like I'm a second half timer and I've done nothing over here. Remember, I showed you guys up in the top left, the meet ID is always there for you guys. So when you do have that second shift, that meet ID is always going to be there on the scorekeeper's device. So I'm gonna join in as a stroke and turn. And the meet ID for tonight, as we all know, is 8013. And now we have a stroke and turn judge huddled. So just pretend that's like a timer. And you have just said, all right, timers, select your role, timer, 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 stroke and turn, stroke and turn, stroke and turn. The meet ID is 8013. The scorekeeper has not had to do anything, and the starter has not had to do anything. If you swap starters, I don't know if you typically swap starters. We don't see that very often. But if you do, I would just shadow for like 1 or 2 events and just make sure they're comfortable starting the events. No problem there. And one thing I'll show you, this is probably the most favorited role, the stroke and turn judge. And really, again, as you guys know, we've pretty much eliminated all the paper on the pool deck. No timer cards, no heat sheets, no runners. And if you choose to use the stroke and turn judge app, no DQ slips, which is awesome. So we've eliminated, especially in a time of COVID, we've eliminated transmission of touch points on the pool deck, which has been very important for a lot of swim teams, a lot of year-round teams that have been running meets especially. They don't want to be handing off paper from one volunteer to the next, quite honestly. And so, Kelly, I know we'll have to talk about this. I know you guys have a stroke and turn judge meeting. Some of our teams will use the DQ slips, and that's probably 40% of the swimmingly teams will still use DQ slips, and that's totally fine because they have the referee that needs to okay the DQs and all of that good stuff. We do have workarounds if you guys are adamant about going paperless on the pool deck, which is great. But we will just show you how that works. And I'm just going to go ahead and start another event. So you guys will see, if you could see on the, let me get to event 4 here. So event 2, heat 4, event 2, heat 4 is in the water. So this is a backstroke event. So the great thing about the stroke and turn judge feature, all they have to do is tap the screen to make a disqualification. It's going to be tracking in real time. You guys can go back to events and you can go back to heats if you guys need to. You can click the minus and plus in the event bar at the top. As the stroke and turn, the IDs do not matter. You guys do not need to worry about IDs. I know you guys have 4 stroke and turn judges on the corners of the pool. You guys have your assigned lanes, all is groovy. So I'm going to pretend like lane 2 is my lane, and I'm going to select lane 2. The coolest feature, it is a backstroke event, so it's only going to pull your backstroke infractions, so you don't have to sift through a million. It's just going to be your backstroke infractions listed here for you, which is nice. So a typical, probably not for a 15-yard back, but let's just say pass vertical at the turn for a 50-yard back is pretty common. So we'll go ahead and do swim. It occurred during the swim, and it was pass vertical, delay initiating the turn, save and continue. As you guys can see on the scorekeeper, the DQ slips are eliminated. That DQ goes directly to the scorekeeper. I know you guys have a process, and we can talk about workarounds and how some of our leagues have transitioned. Totally up to you guys again. But we do just want to be clear with you guys, it's okay to use paper slips if you want to do that. So a couple things here. I know you guys have headpieces. I don't know how awesome those are. Are they good? Are they great? Do you guys love them? Yeah. So a couple things. This isn't the first time we've heard of this. So an option 1 is if you guys want to use paper slips or not, let's just do the go swimmingly whole hog and say, all right, the stroke and turn judge is going to call in the DQ. That way, the referee, or I hope I'm using that word correctly for your guys' league, the referee will hear that and they would actually be able to cue the DQs in on a device. So hopefully that makes sense. So if you guys do like to have a paper trail, for instance, the stroke and turn judges can write them and keep them in their pockets and call them in to the referee. The referee can then okay them and make them on a device. That way it's been through that process that you guys like. That's, might be a little sophisticated. I don't know. Another option is sending in the DQs to the scorekeeper. And again, like I mentioned earlier, the scorekeeper can, and we advocate for the scorekeepers coming up closer to the meet experience and sitting by the starter and the ref. So if they're close, they can literally say, hey, ref, I got a DQ and it's showing that lane 2 got DQ'd for pass vertical at the turn. Is that good? And they can say, yep, nope. So, and you can overturn that. So I'll show you guys how to overturn that here. You just deselect them, save them, and that DQ goes away if he's like, that didn't happen. But again, we know that you guys have a process. We don't want to say get rid of it. We want you guys to enjoy all of what Swimmingly offers in the best way possible. So whatever works best for you guys for this role, please go at it.
Yeah, I want to call one thing out really quick with what Hayes is saying. This is a user behavior thing, and he's talking about the scorekeeper referencing what was previously known as the computer table, right? And the computer table previously was over here in a different zip code, because there's air conditioning and no paper, et cetera, et cetera. This is a key behavior difference that we've seen, and we want to encourage it. It's up to you, but we want to encourage it. And that is the scorekeeper's iPad that you're seeing here that Hayes has shown you. That is the computer table. Go down and sit next to the starter. That'd be a recommendation. Cohesive communication is really a theme that we're seeing here. Not only can the scorekeeper talk with the starter and anything comes up, oh yeah, this, that, whatever, and they keep going, good cohesive communication, but they can also actually watch the swim meet. So instead of being, way inside with all of the paper, they're actually out on the pool deck, on the perimeter as a part of that table there by the starter's podium. So it's up to you, whatever's best for your venue, but we really want to encourage everyone participating to help run the meet is actually, one, watching the meet, and two, is right there to communicate everything that goes on.
Yeah, perfect. And then the last thing, if you guys choose to go manual, if teams decide to do that, again, I know you guys have some trainings coming up for stroke and turn, so I'm happy to hop on and chat with you guys about it then as well. That's really the only thing you'll have to manually input, which is nice. You're not having to worry about manually inputting times. All you're having to do is manually input the DQ slips that come in. So I'll show you how to do that. So let's just pretend heat 3, lane 1 gets DQ'd. You tap on this swimmer. You tap on, and I'm just looking at a DQ slip that came in. You tap on disqualifications. And freestyle, as you guys know, doesn't have many DQs. And this is the USA Swimming disqualification list that we have taken from them. So I'm just going to say no touch at turn, pretend it was a 50, and you save it, and boom, the DQ is in. You have gone through the process. You've done the DQ slip to the ref. The ref has okayed it, signed off on it, given it to the scorekeeper, and the scorekeeper has manually inputted it in. So again, totally up to you all. We want to help accommodate anything that you guys need, want. And again, we're here to help. We're excited to work with you guys this summer. I think that's all the questions that we got. Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong. And we will move on to the next. Kelly, if you have anything, please feel free.
Yeah, Hayes, Charlie, Jason, thank you guys so much. This was so valuable to have, and just a great start. And I feel like it might have, the only bad news about it is I feel like it might have just planted more questions as far as Clubhouse goes and some other places. And I know there's just an intense learning that we as a league are up for. I do want to say, on the DQ stuff you were just talking about, Chris Reese, who's heading up all of our trainings for stroke and turn judge over the next 2 weeks, I believe, will be hitting on kind of those processes. But I would say that I believe that the direction we'll lean into is the best practice of moving that scorekeeper up to where the starter is, and also that they would just kind of see those results, the DQs come in, so that the stroke judge would actually enter them on electronically, and then that would send that way. So I think that that feels like the best practice and kind of what we were going towards, because we'd gone away from slips, I think 2 or 3 years ago anyway. So I think that that would be more in line with the process that we'll be setting up, but we'll talk about that in the starter trainings that we have coming up. And I know we're excited to mess with the system. I think you guys did an amazing job of answering the questions that were coming through, because I was watching those as well. And I've made notes, and Angie, I'm sure, has too, but the notes we'll send back out have links to the handbook or the help guide that was listed, but then also the training webpage. And I just can't emphasize enough to every team that's here, to every meet manager that's here, taking time to go to that training website and watch those Blueprint for Success videos, particularly around Clubhouse. I think that will answer all the questions people have and allow you to be able to kind of play with on your screen the Clubhouse backend as well, and be able to see how to set up meets and how to collect meet declarations and all of that. So I know we did not have time to cover that today, but I think for us, we needed to cover all of this. And yes, I will send that website. That's interesting. I will put links to it because I know I don't necessarily have everybody's email here. I will definitely send out the notes to everybody, all the swim parent reps, and they can distribute it. But also if you go to rmsl.swimtopia.com, I believe it is, I'll make sure that I post all of these links on that website as well. And I'll put that on the homepage since we're just getting into all of this. So I'm so grateful for you guys' time. I know you've poured in so much. That was the other thing. I'm totally happy to set up the meets for the league, as I think that I messed around with that last year and it's really not hard to do at all. So I know that I have the schedule, so I can enter that for the league if that feels helpful. And then the league can kind of